My name is Corey Disick with Draper University, and we are here to ignite your interest in entrepreneurship today with Josh Buckley. Josh, thanks for joining us. We're really excited. If you don't know much about Josh, he has a crazy, amazing story. He's one of the youngest, if not the youngest, entrepreneurial success stories in the Bay Area and in the world. Your career started at age 11, maybe. Sold your first company at 16, and now is the CEO of Mino, which has created a lot of value all over the world. Top game on iPhone applications for over a couple dozen countries, I think, by now. So anyway, it's a pleasure to have you here. Really excited.
Absolutely.
And I thought a great place to get started would be to talk a little bit about a topic I know is of interest to you, which is vision in entrepreneurship. And I'm wondering, how did you acquire your vision to do what you do?
Sure. I mean, visions when starting a company are interesting because to attract smart people, well, to do something interesting and big, you need to do a few things. Like one, you may need to attract funding, and two, you may need to actually attract great people. And to do both those things, if you don't already have traction or existing traction or already in a proven team, you're going to need to paint a compelling vision or a compelling picture of something that could be big. You need to tell us a great story because one generally raises money either on a great story or great results. In the case when we raise money, we raised on both. But if you don't have a great traction or a great product existing already, then you're going to need a big vision of it, that means a great story. And it may be harder, but if you can paint a picture of what the future looks like, or what a product should be, or like a reason why an industry isn't the way it is right now, oftentimes like that, if that makes sense to people and they're happy to jump on board. And sometimes the difference between something succeeding massively and going nowhere or just becoming obsolete or just being uninteresting is the right people believing and the right people coming on board. So I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons why you need a big, compelling vision. Right. In our case, I mean, we're an entertainment studio, so we're not specifically solving a specific problem for someone. So it's a bit harder to have like a big, broad vision. The reason why I'm in entertainment right now and the reason why I'm doing a games company is because I know right now with my current skill set and what I believe is this is where I can make the biggest impact. Like we put a game to millions of people and like we've hit real scale. Like we've impacted an industry where public companies couldn't do it. And really the vision just started out seeing where other brands, things like Pokemon, a brand that made over $25 billion, was completely slipping up. And we realized that we just painted a picture of what it should look like, where we could do a lot better, where they weren't coming to mobile. Like they weren't coming, the future is mobile. Mobile is disrupting everything. Like if you look at the trends, like movies, TV, where brands used to start out is flat for the past decade or so, but mobile gaming is the biggest platform in the world for everything. And it just makes sense to put two and two together. So in that sense, that vision is just very easy for people to get. Like they could understand why this is an interesting opportunity and why they would want to jump on board to it.
So the vision that ended up leading you to create your story in Mino, is this something that you had to work on, or is it something that just came to you?
It came to me, honestly. Like I think it's kind of hard to build an idea and a product in hindsight. Like I think coming from the mindset of being like, hey, I want to build a company, so let me think of an idea, is pretty hard and unnatural way to do it. Generally, it seems like most of the best companies I've seen start out because the entrepreneur has an idea or has a problem with something specifically, and they decide to build something or they have an idea for why they want to build it or what they want to make. And then in hindsight, they're like, okay, I should build a company around this because this clearly got legs. Generally, the latter and the inverse of that doesn't work so well. So in my case, it was much more, I built this myself before ever like raising any money. I built it in my bedroom in England. And then just showed it to some investors and then told them the vision of what this could be and why I was doing this, like telling the narrative of what this is going to be. And that was a vision for us, and that's kind of how it came to be.
Right. So for somebody who's interested in getting into entrepreneurship and maybe doesn't have that big vision yet, what advice would you give them? Is it sort of sit on your heels and wait because it's coming?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's, the other problem is sometimes a big vision doesn't just come to you. Like things like Facebook didn't start out with the vision of what it is today. I think the same is true for things like Twitter, Snapchat, a lot of the biggest success stories out here. So what that really means is that the key to these kind of things is just understanding a lot about big impactful things where there could be an interesting market, whether it's whether you're Mark Zuckerberg and you understand like about social and connecting people and everything around those areas, and then it's about equipping yourself with the skills and the tools to actually be able to create these things. And then I think it's about just building up personal momentum to keep creating and keep doing interesting things. And sometimes a vision will come to you. Maybe you're running a side project and you just put something out there in the market, and you realize, wow, there's actually a need for this. Like my vision is like maybe these people like would actually replace their current solution or whatever with something like this. So I think you don't have to just sit down and like draw and think about it, but you can teach yourself and keep learning about important things, and then more importantly, just keep building things.
Right. So it sounds like you've learned really get out there and start creating, start moving your feet, and there's sort of this feedback loop that happens where the vision will come.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the most naive mistakes people make, I think, is waiting for someone, waiting to find a technical co-founder, waiting to have someone help them or do it for them, or like waiting for an idea so they can pay someone to make it for them. Like, I think if we're talking about technology startups here, like the leaders of this craft are the people that can actually get their hands dirty and create. So I think it's really important to be able to create, and the smartest people I know in this field are constantly making side projects, they're constantly doing interesting things, and I just have so much respect and time for that. And what I believe is that those kind of people who are constantly creating and interesting things are going to stumble upon a big vision. Like, it feels like a vision comes from one of two places. It's either you go through your life in a certain way, and then everything comes together in one place where you're just like, wow, like this needs to happen. Like for these reasons, this needs to happen. Maybe it's like a market where it's just so antiquated in such a way that you just know that like it needs to come to 2014. Like this market is stuck in the 90s, and you need to, like, with today's technology, like something big could happen, right? Like there's a vision for Uber or something, right? It's only like possible today because of today's technology. And same for things like Instacart, etc. And that's one great way. It's probably the best way to come to a vision. Or maybe you have a lot of domain expertise. Maybe you know a lot about accounting or legal, and you think today's tools suck. So then you believe that you can do something better, and you have a vision of making something better for this field you have a lot of domain expertise in. That is generally the best way to come to a vision. I think the second way is just constantly creating things and realizing, hey, there's a strong need for this. And you just put things out there, and you keep moving, you keep your feet moving until you just see so much pent-up demand for something you create, and then it's just like, wow, like this could be so much bigger than it already is.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I really love that. So the next thing, I've got a bunch of things jumping in my brain that I think are relevant and interesting. But one thing I'd like to hear more about is, as a young person, having this story, developing this vision, you now are in a role where you're managing teams, sharing this story and this vision with other people. Mm-hmm. So can you tell a little bit about what role the vision plays in creating focus and managing a team?
Yeah. The reason why employees come on board and retain is because generally two reasons. Like, one is financial, and two is, well, probably three things. It's either financial, they want to make money from their salary and equity. Two is impact. They want to actually have some form of impact on an industry or do something meaningful with their time and lives. And three is progress and meaning. Like they want to develop themselves, they want to develop their skills intellectually in every way. And really a vision feeds into those things. Like there's two things that really matter in running your startup. Everything else is kind of falls to the wayside. The first is the big vision, and that's what attracts people in. If you have nothing else in your startup right now, you're selling people on your story. And early on, the two or three kinds of people you're trying to sell are either investors, because you need money to get the ball rolling and make things happen. You need to sell employees because you need to get your first people in the door and get co-founders and like get people sold on it. And sometimes you may need partners or other people to actually get excited about things and get the ball rolling. To get all those people excited, if you have very little or you don't have an existing product, the only thing you have is a vision. So it better be a good one, because the best people have a lot of options. They could go to an existing company like Facebook and have an impact on, like, make one code change and impact millions of people. So that's already the impact box ticked. They can be surrounded by the smartest people in the world and learn so much every day. And you're not going to compete on salary or equity with Facebook. Well, you can compete on it, and the thing is, you need to compete on those levels. So someone could make a lot more equity because you can give them a larger chunk of your company. So you need to paint a vision of a company that has a potential to grow into something huge. So financially, their equity could be very big. You need to paint the vision of something that could become very huge because it could have a massive impact, so that they know, like, it ticks that box as well. Like, maybe right when they come in, they don't have the impact that they do on, say, joining Facebook or somewhere. But if this turns into something where it hits that vision, the best case scenario, they're going to have massive impact. And then finally, like, if the vision's big enough, then people are just going to be growing. Like, people are going to be learning, like, along the way. Like, if something is really going to go that well, then, like, there's no way people don't grow along with it. So really, if you don't have the growth, like, the best thing you can have is momentum and growth, and something that's already rolling so fast that you can't keep up. Bar that, like, you need something really compelling in vision.
Right. So if I could synthesize it, it seems to me like there's 3 components that every vision should have, if we can say that. It would be impact, meaning, and growth. And so your vision, better have those 3 components to do its job.
I think so. I mean, I think for it to be interesting to the right people, and for yourself, right? Like, if you really want to spend your time on something, do you want to waste your time on something that's just not interesting to you? And oftentimes, like, if you're a smart, intelligent person and the vision is really impactful and meaningful to you and you think it should happen, like, there should be people like you out there that believe the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So that's great. So the thing that comes up for me now, thinking about vision for those who may have it or may not have it, is there a time or a story that you can think of where maybe there was a lack in clarity of where you should go or the vision that you have, and how either, maybe finding a vision helped solve that problem?
Yeah. Let's think. So we've had, I mean, there's no lack of information out there about how hard it is to run a startup. Like, the easiest way to describe it is an emotional roller coaster, where essentially there are ups and there are downs, and maybe 5% of the time is amazing, and the other 90% of the time, when you're a CEO, it's miserable. And some of those miserable times are when you're lacking growth. You've built up a team. Now maybe you have 15, 20 people on your hands, and for one reason or another, growth stalls. Maybe you lose a big customer. Maybe in our case, we decided to pause our first product. So we went from making around $1 million a month, close to $1 million a month, and we cut that like by 1/10 for a period of time. To 10% of that, sorry, and so we're making close to maybe $100,000 a month. It's a big drop, and investors were pissed off. They were like, employees were like, they just the lack of momentum in the company was like palpable. You can feel it. Generally, like, what you have to hold on to at that stage, you have kind of 2 things. Like, if you don't want to like lose your employees at a vulnerable time, and you want to convince investors that they need to double down at a serious time, you have 2 things to really grab onto. You can try and manufacture short-term growth and try and like help get the ball rolling. And if you can do that, that's probably really good, because investors and people in general really respond to short-term growth. Like, people's imaginations are amazing. And if they see a graph or something that shows some short-term growth, their minds will probably extrapolate it out to something a lot bigger. But bar that, which is probably not the best idea, is a big vision. If you can really still paint a picture of a big vision that people can get behind and buy into, you'll be surprised how much of their time and energy they'll give to you. Like, if they see that you really believe in this and you're putting everything you have into it, and going all in, like, even if you don't have growth right now, like, it doesn't really matter, because like when you're in somewhere like Silicon Valley, where fortunes can change in a second, like overnight, what it takes is like one amazing person or one believer who is brilliant. Like, one brilliant mind can change things, and the speed at which things happen over here is so crazy that yeah, people give time to the crazy ones.
So it sounds to me like, selling your vision to other people in your company or outside of it, investors, has been a big part of your success. Were you automatically just good at selling your story and pitching this vision, or is this something that you had to develop over time?
I mean, I'm a natural introvert, so I don't like spending that much time around like people and like investors and everyone all the time. So it's a learned skill for sure, but it's something I somehow learned it very fast. I jumped in the deep end and just realized, hey, I had to learn it fast. I had a lot of great mentorship from some of the best people out here. When I was in Y Combinator, some of the top investors out here. By the time it came to demo day, this thing in Y Combinator, I pitched to 200 investors at once. I was like 17 or something. I had a lot of practice and a lot of like hard feedback to get from people. But generally, the way I found you best learn these things is by when you're pitching and when you're doing this thing, when it's your life, you are pitching your vision like 10 times a day. You're doing it with like employees, you're doing it with investors. Like right now, I'm like meeting investors at like, I've got investors later today I'm meeting, and like the same thing, and like it just becomes second nature to you. Like when you're pitching your vision all the time, like you can talk to someone, or say I just gave a talk, right? Like I've done the same talk a lot, and it you just learn what resonates when you say it, and you just learn you get past the point of like the nuance of what you're saying. You learn to kind of optimize what you say. You learn to figure out like what resonates with another person. So I think the long story short is doing it a lot is the best way to figure it out, and doing it against smart people and getting harsh feedback on it.
Great. So I feel ready to wrap up, and I think the last question I have for you is if you have any sort of advice that you want to give to budding entrepreneurs about developing a vision. Someone came to you, what would be the first thing you tell them?
I would say three things. Three things. The first is, the most important is you need to learn a lot. I'm a voracious reader. I'm always reading. Like I've got, I always have like 3 books on the go. I'm like, I've got like 600 articles lined up right now in a reader, and I'm just learning about every single field. I don't limit myself to entertainment games. I'm learning about completely ancillary things, and I think visions, like I think a vision can come to me, and like for a new startup or something, but generally these things need to come to you and need to happen, and like the best way for it to happen is for you to be like a domain expert in like the thing that a vision would come to you in. So I think at first it's to be very learned in a space. The second, as I said, you should be constantly creating. Like if you want to find something, you should be constantly creating, and like sometimes inspiration just comes to you that way by just making things and doing interesting things that way. And the third is surround yourself with brilliant people. Like I'm really inspired by my friends. I have some friends that are just definitely the best in the world, unquestionable. Like their default state is creation, and they're constantly like, they can't not just be sitting down. Like when most people their default state might be lying in bed and watching Netflix. Their default state is, oh, I'm just going to make a new project. I'm just going to, like, with this weekend, I'll just like make something new. And I love that. And I think I ultimately believe someone like that is going to do incredible things and come up with incredible, impactful visions, because they've got so much momentum in their life, you know. So yeah, those 3 things I think are important. That's the best way to find a vision.
Great. So I'm canceling my Netflix account. You heard it here from Josh Buckley, CEO of Mino Monsters on Vision. Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
I really appreciate it.
Cheers.